Hi, Utkarsh. How are you doing?
Good, sir. How are you?
I'm also doing good, Utkarsh. Again, before we start, I would just like to know, are you applying for this job again for this job at Capgemini? This is what you're
Yes.
thinking. Okay. Again, shall I ask you questions or shall we have a discussion? What are you thinking about?
Let's do both.
All right,
Go ahead and ask the question, and then we can go with the discussion at the end.
all right. Okay. So I have gone through the job profile. Okay, and based on that, I'll just ask you, first of all, if you can see, there are some skills that are must to have. First of all, agent development using MCP, then A to A protocol. Okay. And then the third thing they are saying is Python in AWS AI skill. So let me just start with the last topic, which they really want you to have. So if I ask you, do you possess AI skill? What are the I'll just ask you about AI. What is your experience in AI as of now?
Sure. So yes, right now I'm working with a company called Renaissance, and I have had the opportunity to work with mission critical AI systems that had direct impacts on student learning. I've been working with them for the past 6 years, and for the past 4 years, I've been uh, heavily involved in making MLOps pipelines and our AI-based feedback system for students.
Okay. What impact or what were the goals that you were able to achieve?
So, few years back, Renaissance was involved in giving real-time feedback for the students, taking assessments or going through any chapters. However, we were facing critical user engagement issues with our and analytics showed that the AI feedback took more than a few seconds to appear. Students would get distracted or abandon the session. So this delay was breaking the interactive learning loop that was core to product's value. So I can go in depth in detail of what this was. So
Mhm.
technically, the system was not built for speed and scale. It had monolithic architecture. The initial version of was a monolithic service. The AI model was tightly coupled with the application logic, if I say in a different way, making it hard to update or scale independently. Second issue we had with our old system was inefficient retrieval. We in the old approach we used keyword based search for our information retrieval, which was not only slow but often failed to grasp the context of student queries, leading to less relevant feedback. And
Mhm.
uh, the third challenge which we had was deployments were high risk. Manual process was there. Since this was a new system from scratch, we relied on bi-weekly deployments of infrastructure, especially which was slowing down our our ability to innovate. So our mission was clear, challenge was clear that our technology was living up to our educational mission, which was providing real-time feedback. And my task was with architects of the company to basically architect of this system to be more faster, accurate, and far more reliable than what it was in the past, which would directly impact students' engagement and learning outcomes.
Which model
So
which model did we use for this development of the system?
uh, we use Llama 3.1 for
L-
our uh, for our for our for citing the data, and we also used Amazon's model for vector databases.
Earlier, what was being used before Llama
Earlier,
3.1?
we were used. There was no AI model involved. We were heavily relying on keyword based search from our databases, which resulted in insufficient or most of the time irrelevant answers.
All right, all right.
So in a way, we were trying to mimic AI systems, but technically we were not AI. But these since past 2 years, I'm sure with these LLMs coming into picture, this has heavily changed, and it understands more of the context than just the keywords which we were relying on in the past.
All right. That makes sense. Is it in production?
It is in
Your
production.
okay. Any challenges faced in the production right now?
Right now, there were a few challenges in the past when designing this system. We didn't know what the problem was, or where to even begin, uh, where to begin to fix this problem. So I was heavily involved in designing a new retrieval augmented generation pipeline from the ground up using Bedrock for our foundational models and a vector database for retrieval. This was fundamental shift from our keyword
What
search.
what vector store did you use? I just want to know the name.
We used Amazon's vector databases.
All right. Did you chunk the document? How did you chunk the document?
Yes, so we did follow a chunking strategy. We did upload a lot of contextual data that we had for the students to refer to. We basically divided the documents into meaningful chunks and then uploaded this to the vector database, and then rest was handled by the vector database on how this was stored in the database.
Did you use Bedrock Titan for embedding?
Yes, we use Bedrock Titan.
Right. You have mentioned in your resume using Azure, like AWS Bedrock and vector database. You were able to go ahead and create RAG pipeline, right? Now, I would just like to know which LLM like you use for generation, like which LLM within the AWS also you have LLMs, right? Which
Right.
LLM you used?
Yes, we heavily rely, and we still rely on Llama 3.1. That has
Okay, it is also deployed on AWS,
that is
Llama
also
3.
deployed on it. Yes, we used AWS's Bedrock to deploy. I mean, AWS Bedrock to deploy these things.
You have also told that you build a custom evaluation framework for RAG, right? Can you tell me the metrics that you use for custom evaluation for RAG?
Sure. So to ensure the system stayed reliable, we designed automated root causing analysis system, which when issues did occur, engineers spent too much time manually digging through logs. So we built and refined a multi-agent system using Azure OpenAI. So you can think of it as a team of AI diagnosticians. The observer agent, this agent's sole job was to monitor observability and system data. And then we had investigator agent. When the observer spotted an anomaly, it would trigger the investigator, which would then collect all relevant logs and metrics from our distributed Kubernetes environment. And then the final agent, which would take all the correlated and use its reasoning capabilities to perform a root cause analysis, delivering a summary to the on-call engineer. So what we use, basically, we tried replicating. So this was the agent-based system which we used later on to monitor the system. But before that, the metrics that we relied on was we used profilers to see where the actual problem actually lied within our system. So the actual problem relied on our system was the keyword semantic-based search, which took from a few seconds to a couple of minutes to retrieve the information from the
All
databases.
right. I,
And we
I got
used
that point. I got that point. My point is related to uh, custom evaluation framework, right? So was it a pre-evaluation or a post-evaluation?
that was post evaluation, post deployment.
Okay, so if I may just put it this way, have you heard about fluency or relevance or GPT similarity? Didn't you use the already existing evaluation framework?
No, sir, I'm unable to answer that question, but I will note it down.
Okay, so actually you have built custom evaluation framework, which I'm able to make sense. But there are some evaluation metrics that are already available, okay, which are very famous, like faithfulness, which is known as checking the response that you're getting against the ground truth. Okay, the already existing one, which is called as faithfulness. I think you just did that. But there is also something called as relevance, and then latency. Okay, you can say GPT similarity, fluency. This all are there. And apart from that, if I ask you, like, how did you build? Was it a code-based structure?
Could you please elaborate the question, sir?
Now, my question is the evaluation framework that you built, was it code-based? Code-based. Was it SDK, written in SDK?
Mm, I am unable to answer. I'm not sure with
Okay,
that
okay,
question.
okay. So how was the evaluation framework that you used to evaluate the efficiency of the RAG being evaluated? Like, how was it available to you?
So we
Like you.
monitored this using
Mhm,
tools
mhm.
like Grafana, which collected analytics of how the model is behaving and what is the latency between on and the throughput basically on when the search comes in and then within how many seconds it was answered the question.
And how accurate was the answer for that?
I can note it down, sir. I am not.
Okay, okay. There is one more project which you have used or done, multitasking agent with Azure OpenAI, right?
Yes.
Like my question is, why did you use Azure OpenAI instead of AWS Bedrock for this project?
The reason we went with Azure instead of AWS was since our old system, so Renaissance, which the company I work for, they have an, so they acquired a company which on the models and their whole system infrastructure was would relied on the on Azure cloud. And the reason we had to go with Azure, even though we did implement our RAG pipeline using AWS, was because of the company which uh, were heavily dependent on Azure instead of AWS, and then we didn't have any other choice. Otherwise, if you would have gone for AWS, there would be another uh, hiccup in the pipeline that we need to get the data from Azure to AWS, and that's why it made more sense for us to go for Azure instead of AWS.
I got it. Yeah, that makes sense. SageMaker. Okay, so you have used SageMaker for LLM ops life cycle. Can you help me different stages of using SageMaker for LLM ops?
Mm, sure. So
Can
our
you help?
model,
Yeah.
so yes, yes. So our model was deployed using AWS SageMaker, and the whole pipeline was built around SageMaker to deploy the model. We used MLOps for as a tool to observe what's happening in the system.
Okay. Model versioning and deployment, was everything like being taken care by you, or you can say, was it being taken care by a team? How was it being taken care of?
I'm not sure with that question, Dilal sir.
Okay. So the point is pretty simple, Utkarsh. I'm saying when you went ahead and used SageMaker for LLM Ops lifecycle, right? First of all, I would like to know what is LLM Ops according to you. Okay, and how did you went ahead and used LLM Ops? Was it a team work, or was it a sole work that you were able to go ahead and do? And which LLM did you went ahead and operationalize?
So we did again this. We went with so it was a different team that managed the DevOps team, which managed the deployment of these models. My role as a developer was to make changes in the model and then basically use uh, CI/CD pipelines, which relied on which on which triggered a merge on to a which triggered a automated deployment on a merge to a main branch. Uh,
Okay,
and we went with canary deployment for our SageMaker. Meant we could release new model to a small percentage of students, uh, monitor its performance closely, and then roll out to everyone else automatically if no issues were detected.
all
So
right.
this included model versioning and performance monitoring. to quickly resolve the production issues.
You worked at Wipro also, right? What was the total duration you worked at Wipro?
I worked for almost 2.5 years at Wipro.
And what is your total experience?
Uh, so 2 years at Wipro, 2.5 years at Wipro, which included my internship. So leaving internship apart, 2 years at Wipro and then 6 years at my current company. So 8 years of total work experience.
Okay, and what like have you always been involved in IT training? What you can say, IT coding background?
Yes, starting at Wipro, I was working as a QA. Where we use Robo 3T as the testing framework, which is again a Python framework. And we wrote automated unit integration tests using framework, which was also a Python-based framework. So yes, I was in IT-based since the very beginning of my.
All right. We have a question. What will be the role based? What will be the role based on this AWS GenAI ML? If someone is asking on what role you are looking for, I have no answer. Mohan, can you again elaborate your question for me to understand? That would be helpful. You can put it in the chat. I would like to understand the question. I just want to understand the question a little bit more. You can put it in the chat and then we'll take it ahead. Okay.
Uh,
So,
uh,
yes, Mohan.
okay, if you can hear me. So the question is like, I was like talking to someone today, and he was like, told him like I was doing this kind of course, and he was like, in this course, what lo- roles you're looking for? Like, are you like looking as a developer or like an
Which course? Which course you are doing? AWS GenAI AI ML, right? This is what you're doing,
right?
right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Can you share the course outline with me in the chat? A total course outline in the chat. That would be really helpful because I do take
Uh,
care of Azure GenAI AI ML a lot. So if I see your AWS GenAI AI ML program, okay, you can put the syllabus. Do you have? Yeah, that's
yeah,
great.
I pinged the link.
Let me just check. I'm just checking. So
Yeah,
GenAI,
sure.
it starts with AWS for beginner, then AWS AI and ML service, a GenAI FM applications, requesting GenAI application, building GenAI applications with Bedrock, data ingestion, transformation, EDA, model training, model deployment, MLOps on AWS, security compliance, deep learning and advanced modeling, real-time project certification. All right. So I think you're basically looking for a, you can say, based on this uh, program, right? You are looking
Hmm.
for a career in data science, and I feel it is more like a data scientist role, what we can actually offer after going through this. Data scientist, or you can say Gen AI consultant also, that can also be one of the things that can be looked after.
Okay. So, okay, another stupid question. So, what's the difference between a data engineer and a data scientist?
All right, I'll just keep it
Uh,
simple. So when you say data engineer is primarily catering to pre-processing of data, okay, making the data available so that it can be used in machine learning processes. Okay, machine data
okay.
engineer need not require to have the knowledge of machine learning, okay, but a machine learning engineer needs to have knowledge of the backend process. I hope that makes sense. Because what happens is data scientist comes after data engineering. All right.
So, like an higher hierarchy, is it like lower or upper?
It's a higher hierarchy. You can say data
Okay.
engineer, machine learning engineer. So if you are a machine learning engineer, you need to have fundamental knowledge, at least fundamental knowledge of data. Okay, how does the data get cleaned? How is it processed? How does it come to you? Okay, so if you feel that there is any issue while processing the data for machine learning purpose, at least you can inform the data engineering team that this is the problem that I am facing. All right. So as a data
Okay.
engineer, we need to be like as a machine learning engineer or a data scientist, We need to be aware about the process of data engineer. That's the reason whenever you see any machine learning courses, you will see that steps related to data, okay, pre-processing, cleaning will be taken care by the course. But in general, those things are not being taken care by data scientist or ML engineer because that comes to the machine learning engineer in a clean processed way.
Okay.
Okay.
So, okay, because here in this course they didn't mention anywhere scientist or data engineer. Everything
If
was
you
talking about.
no, no, I got it. I
Mm.
got it. That's what I'm trying to say. The role can be diversified, okay, but generally when you see when you're saying this program, okay, you can check for a role related to data science, data scientist, or you can check for a role for a or you can say more of a consultant. What is your current role right now in your organization?
So I'm a technical lead.
Hmm.
I'm in a manufacturing company,
Hmm.
but I'm experienced on mainframes.
Okay, are you coming from a programming background or a non-programming total right
It's a
now?
programming.
Okay, okay.
So even though I'm from a programming background, I have like over 14 years of experience. See, that's where my concern is now.
Hmm.
So, so with 14 years of IT experience, and then I have a PhD in information technology. Um, I have done my thesis in security.
Hmm.
So, and the biggest problem here I'm currently facing is the visa. So they are not, no, considering H1Bs for the roles of security functions. Most of the
All
companies,
right.
not big companies, and it's very challenging for me to get into big companies, the FANG companies.
Hmm.
So, so now my current situation, what do you suggest? See, I'm more
I
looking
got it.
into, I'm more of looking into, like a lead role or like a strategist, more of not like a developer, but I'm learning. See, again, I'm learning Python. I have a basic foundational certification in AWS.
Hmm.
So the reason so now I'm, so I was talking to my friend, and this question is like, now put me in a back seat. Now, what am I going to do? Okay, I'm taking the course, I'm working on it, but what am I,
What is your current
what
designation? What is your current designation?
I'm a technical lead,
Technical lead, and you're looking for
like
which role?
product lead, you can say
I got
product
it.
lead.
Are you looking for a more of a consultant work or a managerial work?
Uh, Not as a managerial work, but as in a technical lead work.
Okay, so I'll just put it this way. Based on
Mm-hmm.
this course, okay, I'll be very honest. This course will help you be into a engineer, ML engineer role, generative AI
Okay,
engineer role. Okay.
okay,
Apart from that, this course can also since see when you get into ML engineer role, generative AI engineer role, that means you can actually take up technical lead role also. Why I mean
okay.
that is because you're already working as a technical lead, right? So if you're
Yes,
already working as a technical lead, you might be going ahead and helping the team build the applications, right? That's the only thing,
correct.
right? So if you're
Yes.
already doing that, you just need to you can say do some projects, okay, in you can say machine learning domain because you have not done
Okay.
any project in machine learning domain, right?
I have done some of my research work on GenAI and ML,
That's great.
but that's part of my research work. But there are
Understood.
other guys who are experienced in that. So I
So
collaborated with them, and I have done my different parts. So
real, I would recommend real world projects if you can deploy maybe three or four
okay,
projects, real world
okay,
projects if you can deploy that can really
okay.
help you directly take up the role of technical role lead in machine learning rather than starting from base. That is one of the thing. Right now, even I
But I
have
do not.
taken.
I see that's, yeah. I want to learn the basics. I want to be strong in my basics. So that's the
Absolutely,
reason.
and that is what I'm saying. You want to learn the basic. That is absolutely true. So the course that has been designed has, I think, all elements of starting from basics because you already know Python, right? So I think there is
Yes.
also a course which is running, which is Python for machine learning, right? One more course is running related to Python for machine learning, correct?
Okay.
So you can add yourself into yourself into that course also. Atisha will be able to help you in that regard so that you can also develop your core basics in machine learning. Once you develop your core basics in machine learning, then going ahead with this course, which you're actually taking right now, wherein I think you have everything, if I can say, exploratory data
Mm-hmm.
analysis, model training, everything is happening, right? Data ingestion,
Mm,
but I think everything is happening on AWS, right? And you want to see all these things at a very basic level, right?
right.
So at a very basic level, I think we do have one course related to Python for machine learning. Check for that course or check for any other similar kind of course where you can develop your machine learning fundamentals also because you already know Python.
Sorry. Sorry to stop you again. So, what course is that? And how different is that from the current curriculum?
Okay, in the current curriculum, what I can see, it is all deployed on AWS. The current curriculum is talking about machine learning on AWS, right?
Correct.
GenAI on AWS. Everything is on AWS. Apart from learning it on AWS, you also need to know the underlying structure. Okay, what is there at the back end? Okay, how did it evolve so that we can use it
Mm-hmm.
on AWS? Anything that you use on cloud gets evolved, right?
Right.
Okay, so earlier it must have some base, like what is machine learning, okay, what is deep learning, what is transformer
Mm-hmm.
architecture, okay. Having a knowledge of that will make you learn the things from basic. So you need to be aware about what is machine learning and what is deep learning and what is Gen AI transformer architecture. How does this system get built? Okay, what are the different algorithms that are being used? Okay, and you need to do
Okay.
it from the scratch. So I'm saying evaluation of this algorithms. So you can say ingestion
Okay.
of the data, training, testing, and deploying. Okay, deploying comes on Azure, but before we deploy anything on Azure, we need to be aware about the fundamental, right? How does the data get pre-processed? Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
if though you are learning it here, everything you're learning it here, I can see everything is being learned, but it is learned on the, you can say deployed everything on AWS itself. But at the back end, this technology got developed. So you need to be aware about the technology also. Okay. How did this
Okay.
technology frame? Okay. You can say more of a framework based on which this has been built on AWS.
Okay.
Okay. When
Okay.
you see it on AWS, you're just seeing a mere end product, right? But what has
Mm-hmm.
happened at the back end, if you can get that knowledge, and then look into this. This is a very nice, you can say, course, according to me. After going through this course, if you can develop 3 to 4 good real life projects having fundamental base, then you can actually look for technical lead role also. This course, again, I'll say, is primarily designed for having you having a knowledge of Gen AI, okay, or you can say machine learning engineer role, or a data scientist, or a developer, okay. All these things are there, but apart from that, if you want to start up as a technical lead, since you already
Mm-hmm.
are at a place of technical lead, right? For you
Mm-hmm.
to get into a technical lead will not be difficult to manage a team, okay? Being a technical lead should not be difficult because technical lead needs to have the fundamental knowledge as well as experience of handling other you can say works, right, related to technical
Right.
aspect.
Right.
So that you already have, you just need to, I told, for build on the fundamentals and build on creating some projects. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, okay. The other thing, so, so how you're, so most of the things, I mean, I've been looking at all the job openings and other things. Most of them are asking for a GitHub link. So
Mhm.
are you,
I'm talking about that only. Develop the project and deploy it on GitHub.
okay. So is there some kind of assistance there for us? I mean,
With
here.
respect to GitHub, you can get assistance from the team. If you want to
Okay.
deploy it on GitHub, they will be able to help
Okay.
you out. How, if you're not aware how to deploy it on GitHub, whatever you're working, that thing can be
Mm-hmm.
provided to you. You can ask for the what you can say K21 Academy
Okay.
to assist you in that regard. If you want a setup session for that, that is also possible. How to work
Okay.
with
Okay.
GitHub. All right. It can be a one
Sure.
hour to 2 hour session wherein you'll be able to understand how to deploy a project, okay, live on a
Mm-hmm.
GitHub so that others can also do. All right.
Okay, sure,
Yes.
got it.
All right.
Okay, yeah, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Utkarsh, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, the next point that I wanted to look into is, see, they have told, if you look into the job type, they have told 1 years of experience in building AI agents. But if you see from the back, they are saying uh, experience in JavaScripting, okay, to augment CI/CD pipeline. Do you have any experience in CI/CD or scripting?
Yes, I have worked with a team of DevOps, which were involved in making CI/CD pipelines on Groovy. But this was, yes, a few months back. I don't heavily work with DevOps as they take care of the deployments, but I did have a chance to work with them and then go through the pipeline and then what things go in the pipeline for the model deployment.
I think you also have minimum 3 years of experience for Python, right? That is also not a
Yes,
problem.
yes.
Expertise of AI, I think you have experience in Bedrock and LLMs in AWS. The only concern what I have right now is 1 year of relevant experience in building agents using agentic architecture. So if I ask you about agent development, what is agentic AI according to you?
So LLMs can can answer questions, but they can't go and access or they don't have access to external tools. Agents, in turns, have access to external tools through API or through various methods where they can go ahead and take actions for you. So that's what the difference between difference between is between generative AI and agentic AI. Agentic AI, it technically means it can take actions for you on your behalf.
What is MCP right now in agentic AI?
So MCP is a framework by Anthropic which connects between the external tools and your LLM. It's basically a set of protocols that LLM follows in order to communicate between the external tools, and tools can be anything. It can be your Outlook calendar, it can be an API, it can be your Slack channel. Uh, it forms a defined way of connecting with the external tools.
Have you worked with MCP till now?
Very slightly.
Okay. Because
This is something, sir. This is apart from the question you're asking me. This is something I have to prepare around
okay, so the point is,
MCPs.
uh,
Yes.
see, MCP is a very important. Even I was going through MCP concepts, okay, few days back. And do you know what are the advantages that MCP gives you when you want to build an
It,
agentic framework? Why is it being so much hype that we need to have MCP knowledge? What advantage does MCP give you when you want to build agentic framework?
I think the most important thing that I'm aware of is long-term memory. LLMs don't have long-term memory with them, and with integrating your models with an MCP gives uh, y- your system a long-term memory. I can be totally wrong on that, but please correct me with the right answer, sir.
All right. All right. So MCP is something called as Model Context Protocol. Okay. Basically, what you're saying is you can say to a fair extent it is correct also. Okay, but MCP is a protocol wherein you can say that you establish a connection between agent and a server. Okay, you can say a
Got it. So
client and
same
a
like
server.
client and a server.
Client
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
a server. The server may be a program. Okay, and the client will be wherein you are going to be able to interact with that program. Okay, that is what
Got
you
it.
have in place. And just to keep it simple, generally in any LLM, you have tools, you have resources, right? Like maybe databases, and you have tools which can connect to the databases, and then you have prompt, right? MCP has already written those, you can say context, okay? Like the context for tool, the context for calling the resources, and the context for what you can say prompting is already being defined in the MCP. It's more like a bucket from where you can pull the tool definition. Okay, rather than writing your own tool definition, you can pull up the tool definition, the resource definition, the prompt definition, and you can directly start using it. All right. I hope that makes sense.
Yes.
Okay, so this is where, to be very frank, if you see 1 year of relevant experience in building agent using agentic architecture, they have told. But if you see in the skill they have told, you need to have agent development using MCP. Okay, so the point is pretty simple. In the skill, they are not actually saying about MCP, but in required skill. But in the must-have skill, they are saying agentic development using MCP and A2A protocol. Now, the point is pretty simple. To be very frank, they will hardly get anyone with MCP experience right now because this is the one of the
Got it.
latest thing that we have in place. Okay, cloud. Okay, CLAUDE. Cloud has recently developed. This was being developed by cloud. Earlier, it was a proprietary thing. Now they have unleashed it as a open source, wherein anyone can go ahead and build their agent. Okay, so maybe you are working on AWS, maybe you're working on Azure, maybe you're working on GCP or any other cloud, or maybe any other open source. You can actually go ahead and build your own tool and put it into, you can say, a public domain so others can also go ahead and use that tool. Okay, tool you can
Okay.
say, connection to resource you can say, and even be going ahead and building prompts. Okay, so building the prompt maybe for different domain. Okay, as a you can say as an architecture, you can have it here so that other can also go ahead and use that. Okay, there is
Got
one
it.
more thing that
Uh,
is, yeah, please go ahead.
There also a follow-up question. Bedrock also does the similar thing. They have agents which connects to external tools and then even call
Absolutely.
APIs. Why MCP?
See, yeah, the point is there we need to write the definition by our own, right? I'll put it simple. When you go ahead and call a class in a Python program, right? Do you write the definition of the class or do you directly use the class?
Directly use
You
the class.
directly use the class, right? So that is what I'm saying. Using MCP right now, earlier, to be very frank, I have not seen the AWS, but if you see Azure also, okay, we had to write the tool definition on our own. Okay. Now what has happened? The tool is already defined. You can directly use the tool. I'll just put it this way. You want to connect to a SQL database, you just pick up the in that tool, you go ahead and define your system. Okay, so you just need to go ahead and change some values which will help you to connect to your system. So for a SQL
Okay.
database, okay, the tools have been defined now. Okay, so you can directly use the tool rather than you defining the tool. So
Got it.
earlier,
Makes
what was
sense.
happening in agentic AI, wherein we were allowed to connect to the tools. Okay, when we were trying to connect to the tool, we had to get the tool definition from our own. Okay, whenever we wanted to connect to any tool, we had to define the tool on our
So
own.
what
Okay,
do we
using
mean
function.
when we say definition?
Definition basically means a schema. Okay,
Okay.
so we need to write a schema, and then that schema will be, you can say, help us to connect to the external world. Now, what has
Okay.
happened with MCP, the schema is already predefined. You can directly use that schema, make a little bit of change. That means you will set up your connection to that schema via that schema, and then you will automatically be able to use that. So that is one difference that has happened. Okay, there are multiple things available on MCP. I think even K21 can start one, you can say a deep dive session, maybe 2 to 4 hours of session. I'll also recommend that we can have agentic AI using MCP as a course, so that that gives more hands-on information, because that will be one of the thing going forward with respect to agentic AI.
Yeah.
All right, wherein you can say more of a protocol or a structure has already been defined, and you're directly you can even go ahead and build your own tools, or you can build your own resources connection, or you can even go ahead and build your own prompt systems. That is possible. But once you build, you can use it, or you can directly go ahead and use someone else's tool, resource, or prompt template. That is also possible.
Got it.
Okay. One more thing that I would like to let you know. So do work on MCP, agent development using MCP. Right now, all the clouds have gone ahead, and if I see, like you see the documentation, you will see agentic development using MCP in AWS, Azure, GCP, everywhere you will be able to see that. So via an SDK, you can actually go ahead and develop agent using MCP also, and that will give you far more flexibility, and you can say uh, uh, flexibility as well as less, you can say coding, okay, for being able to go ahead and build a tool, okay,
Okay.
definition.
And are these still deployed on using Bedrock? Or is there any involvement of Bedrock if
Yes,
we develop agents using MCPs?
yes, you can develop. If I have not seen Bedrock, but I'm pretty sure that it will can be developed, deployed on Bedrock also. Using MCP, you can deploy it on Bedrock.
Okay, so usually if someone is developing using just MCPs, how are they deployed in prod?
Can you repeat your question?
Like if something is developed, the agent is developed using MCP, how are they deployed? Like where is it deployed or how is it deployed? Just on a EC2 on a ECS service, or what's the mechanism or what's the tooling of deployment behind
Mhm.
agents using that are created using MCPs?
So if something is, you can say someone is developing, you told using MCP and agent, right?
Right.
So how are we deploying on cloud?
Not. I mean, first question: can it be deployed on cloud? And if yes, how? What's the process? Just a one-line answer. I just want to understand if it can be
Okay,
deployed on, if something to speak on.
all right. So just to keep it simple, first of all, you have an agent, right? That can be developed using any one of the SDK, right?
And
Okay.
sorry, I'm interrupting again, Diral sir. You
Mhm.
say they can be developed using any SDK. What do we mean by that?
See, you have Python SDK, you have C Sharp, you have Java, right? These are programming
Okay,
languages. So you
okay,
write your, like, you build your code using one of the SDK, right? Okay.
okay,
Once you build your code using the SDK, like agent using the SDK, you want that agent to be able to connect to the external world, right? So to connect to the external world, you can make use of MCP, wherein you can connect that agent. Suppose you have just written a code which is going to go ahead and you can say, like do some calculation, okay? Or maybe it is going to go ahead, like you have written a code which is more like, which is going to connect to the LLM. I'll put it this way. Okay, and it is going to ask the LLM a question. Maybe it is going to ask a question that, can you like tell me what is the weather in New York? Okay, this is the code that you have written, which is going to connect to the LLM to be able to ask questions related to real world. Now, when I want to ask questions related to real world, I want to connect it to a search engine, right? So in that context, the agent that you have developed needs to connect to what? To be able to get real-time information, it needs to connect to a search tool. I hope that makes sense. Again, I'll
yes,
repeat. You have a programming, you have a agent defined that, like, keep the agent aside. You have a simple prompt. That prompt is actually going to go ahead and call LLM. Okay, so your question is, tell me about the weather in New York right now. When you ask this question cannot be answered directly by LLM, right? Because
right.
LLM does not have access to the external
Real
data,
time.
right? So what you're going to do at that point of time, you're going to define a tool, okay, a search tool. That is where I am saying that search tool aspect can be directly catered by MCP because it already has tools defined. Okay,
Got it.
okay, so
Okay,
you already have tools defined, you can directly use those tools. Taking you
okay,
ahead. So once you have that tool, now, like suppose you have built the agent in Python and you are using MCP for interaction of agent, you can say with the LLM. Is it okay? So if you want to deploy it on AWS, you can deploy it as a, you can Dockerize it and then push it to ECR. Fine.
okay.
So first you can Dockerize the agent, containerize the SDK. Then you can push it to Amazon ECR. Okay. And then you can deploy it via Lambda, or you can deploy it via EKS, or you can deploy it via container runtime also, like ECS also. Fine. So the process will be same. First, you'll build the agent. That means first you'll write the code, then you will call the tool. Okay, code is what we call as an MCP server. Okay, a program that you write is what we call as an MCP server. Fine. That like that MCP server needs to connect to the you can say needs to 1 second. Okay, so program is what you call as a server. That server needs to connect to the tools, right? So it can connect to the tools, it can connect to the resources or the prompt template. All right.
Okay.
Now, once you have done that, then you can actually containerize it. Then you can, after containerizing, you can deploy it via Kubernetes or via container runtime, or even via a you can say app service, like an event-driven service. All right.
Okay.
Okay, so containerization is possible. That's not a problem.
Got it. So another query, sir, I have is you asked about the models. Like which model did you use? I answered Llama 3.1. What is the right answer? What's the actual answer that is does make sense to the interviewer?
That is that is absolutely correct. If you're using Llama 3.1, the next question that will be asked is, where did you deploy? So you did say that you deployed it on AWS, right? Llama 3.1, and it is available on AWS, right? So that is absolutely correct. That is not at all a problem.
And if so, usually the production environments are different than staging and pre-prod and dev. So
Mhm.
if you're using the same model, the model is the expensive thing, most expensive thing in frameworks like this. How did we like how did we justify the cost of a dev environment which is based on Llama 3.1 and even the production runs on 3.1?
You can connect rather than deploy. Like when you connect via a what you say via a API, right? API key and endpoint. I hope you're doing
Right.
that. You are not
Yes.
downloading a model, right? So the
No.
cost is based on token. So if the cost is based on token, and when you do not consume, okay, the token cost will not be there, right? So at that
Got
point of
it.
time, if you put it on what you can say production, sorry, testing, staging, and production environment, that should not be any, I think, huge cost that will be incurred. If you download the model locally and then you try to deploy, then like connect, then it can be a huge thing. But since you told you have deployed it on AWS, which will consume the things based on token usage, right? So that should not be a problem on any of the different types of server. The cost increases when you want to deploy it on the local GPU. That is where the cost comes. Okay, into different environments. Suppose you have an environment which you want to build locally rather than building it directly on AWS, then there will be a huge cost involved, which can be a trouble.
Got it.
Okay, so
Got it. So
production environment, if you want to do it locally is fine, but the testing environment and the staging environment would be recommended to do it on the cloud server itself to test its efficiency using the API keys and endpoint.
got it. The reason I asked this question because usually for development not related to machine learning, but if we go with web development, a dev environment is usually smaller than production to save on the cost. But if we go with machine learning or agents, which uses LLMs, we cannot go with smaller models since it will directly impact uh, the efficiency between production and dev. So we wanted to keep it same. That's why,
Mhm.
and see and gauge the actual accuracy. That's why we kept the model same across all the environments. Does that make
Mhm.
sense?
Can you repeat?
Like for instance, I could have said that we went for smaller models used on our dev environments to save the cost. But
No,
then
no, that will not be
if
one of the things.
correct.
Even if you go for a large parameter model, if you
Mhm.
are using the API keys and endpoint and not deploying the model locally, there is no, you can say, high cost that is incurred. Okay.
Right, right.
The
You answered
token,
my question in the previous
the,
sentence. Yes,
yeah,
makes
the
sense.
token, the token cost can be $1 higher in charge, but that
Mhm.
is, you can say, acceptable and cost friendly for the organization, because that is not huge. But if you go for $1,000 as an increase in charge because of you deploying the model locally on maybe a GPU server, then it can be a problem. So I told, like, if you're using a cloud and then deploying the model there, that's good enough. That should not be a trouble.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, or if the organization already has a GPU, okay, which they have kept for testing and staging, okay, wherein at a time only, like based on the capability or capacity of the GPU, you only want to deploy a model and test it locally, that is also okay. You can do that. If you already have a local GPU server available, you can deploy the model locally and connect it to an AWS cloud from the local and test it there itself. That is also okay. But if you
Okay,
directly want to deploy it on the AWS cloud, that is also fine. But if you already have a local GPU available, then you can actually lower down the cost of even testing the model uh, at the testing stage. That is also by
got it.
eliminating the token cost. But again, uh, token cost versus GPU, if you would say, I would always recommend go for token cost rather than going for GPU at the time of training and staging of the model.
Okay. Last two questions before we wrap up. You asked me about accuracy in
Mhm.
custom evaluation framework. Like, how did we gauge what the accuracy was of the system? How to answer that question, and then custom evaluation framework.
So just to keep it simple, whenever you build a large language model system, okay, wherein you're using an LLM, you always need to check for the answer. Like when I'm asking 2 plus 2, okay, it might give me an answer as 4. Okay, I'll just put it simple. I have a huge paragraph and I want to know the sentiment, right? Okay, so if it is giving a sentiment as positive and according to the ground truth, okay, also it should be positive, then you call it as an accurate result. So when you say accurate, how do you calculate accuracy? I'll just say this way. What is 2 plus 2? The model gave answer as 4. The model gave answer as 5. So if I ask you how much accurate is the model, you will say the model is only 50% accurate. Why? Because one time it gave an answer as 5, right? I hope you're getting.
But then how will we test this model before going into production? Do we have a
So
team of
yes,
testers who does that?
yes, that there is a team of tester that should be there to be able to test the model. And for testing, there are evaluation frameworks that are already in existence. Like fluency is
Okay.
there, coherence is there, GPT similarity is there, ground truth are there. These are called as you can say automatic evaluation framework. Then you can also have manual evaluation framework that will be defined by the, like, that will be evaluated by the tester itself by writing unit test. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
In
So
that unit test, what will be how what will become in those unit
in
tests? What
the correct answer will come in the unit test. The correct answer
but the
according.
answers might differ every
That
time.
is
Like it
where,
might have
yeah,
a
that
different
is what I'm
yes.
saying. That is what I'm saying. The ground answer will come in that unit test. It will be compared against the answer that will come from the GPT. Okay. And then there will be an evaluation based on blue score. Okay.
Got it. Got
Uh,
it. So if you compare the similarity between the answers and the actual answer that comes back from the LLM,
mhm.
how do we like you mentioned glue. So does glue do a similarity search? How does it
Yes, it
work
does.
in the
It does.
back end?
It does similarity search at the back end. Okay.
Okay,
And
got
then
it.
based
Makes
on that, it
sense.
is going to go ahead and give a metric. Like from 0 to 1, it will give you a score. And if it is giving a score near to 1, that means the model is doing really well with respect to manual evaluation also. So manual
Got it.
evaluation check is the most profound check. Okay. And automatic evaluation is checking it against the GPT answer itself. So suppose I'm
Got
building
it.
getting a response from GPT 4.0, and I also know that GPT 4.04 mini is a far better when it comes to giving a response. So I'll compare one response against the other. The other benchmark model should be a far better one. So that is one of the things. So automatic evaluation can be done by comparing it against a GPT response, but I would prefer a manual evaluation is far better.
Got it.
All right. Anything else?
No, that should be it. I mean, I need to go back and do some learning on
This time,
MCPs.
as compared to the last time, Utkarsh, your way of presentation and the way you handle questions were far more proficient. It looked like you were prepared. And one thing that you need to work on right now, if you see, is MCP will come everywhere when it comes to agentic development. So I would really recommend go for more information and try to build projects, okay, using MCP that will keep you in good stead. All right.
Oh, we'll do that.